stop right now. Do not close this video, because what I am about to tell you in the next 30 seconds is going to make you genuinely angry at every auto shop you have ever walked into. Jiffylube charged a customer in Ohio $93 last Tuesday. $93 for wiper blades. Wiper blades that took their technician literally 45 seconds to snap on, and the parts themselves cost that shop maybe $4 wholesale. You have been handing over almost $100 for a job you could do yourself in 60 seconds flat with blades that cost $8 at Walmart. And here's the part that is going to keep you up tonight. This has been happening to you and everyone you know for decades, deliberately, systematically, by an industry that built its entire profit model on the assumption that you would never figure out how simple this actually is. Let me tell you what is really going on here. The auto service industry in the United States alone is worth over $115 billion per year. $115 billion. And a massive chunk of that revenue comes from what insiders call upsell services. Things that cost almost nothing to do but get bundled into your service appointment at prices that would make a surgeon blush. Wiper blades are the #1 upsell item at every quick lube chain in America. Every single one. Because they know that when you're already sitting in the waiting room and a technician walks up with a clipboard and says, your wipers are looking pretty worn and it is only $90 more, most people just say yes. Because the alternative feels complicated. Because nobody ever showed you how stupidly simple this is. Because they counted on your ignorance and they built a $100 billion business on top of it. Now here is the thing that is going to reset your brain completely. Are you ready for this? The exact same wiper blade that Jiffylube installs on your car for $93 is sitting on the shelf at your local AutoZone, Walmart, or Amazon for between $8 and $14 depending on your vehicle. Same blade, same brand in many cases, same rubber, same fit. The markup is between 500 and 900%. And the installation that they charge you labor for takes less time than it takes to read this sentence out loud. 60 seconds. Maybe 90 if you have never done it before. There is no special tool. There is no technical knowledge required. There is no certification needed. There's a single clip. You press it, it clicks. You are done. And I am going to show you exactly how to do it in a way that will make you feel like you have been handed a key to a locked room that the entire auto service industry spent 50 years trying to keep you out of. But first, I need you to understand something deeper about why this knowledge was kept from you. Because this is not just about wiper blades, this is about a system. A deliberate and carefully constructed system designed to make you feel incompetent around your own vehicle so that you keep handing over money for things you could handle yourself in minutes. Think about the last time you took your car in for an oil change. How many additional services did they recommend? Wiper blades, cabin air filter, engine air filter, fuel system cleaning, tire rotation. All of it presented with urgency. All of it priced at 5 to 10 times what the parts actually cost. All of it designed to extract maximum money from someone who does not know any better. And the reason you did not know better is not because you're not smart. It is because this information was never made available to you in a way that felt accessible and real. Until right now. Here is something that is going to change the way you think about every car maintenance decision you ever make from this point forward. There is a method for refreshing and extending the life of your existing wiper blades using something that costs less than $2 and is sitting in almost every American kitchen right now. A method so effective that major rubber manufacturers have actively avoided publicizing it because it undermines the entire replacement cycle that their business model depends on. And when you understand the science behind it, you're going to realize that this is not some internet trick or life hack nonsense. This is legitimate chemistry being suppressed by a legitimate industry for illegitimate financial reasons. They did not hide this because it fails. They hid it because it works too well. This channel exists for one reason: to dig up the knowledge that billion-dollar industries buried and put it back in your hands where it belongs. Every single video on this channel is a direct attack on the assumption that you need to pay professionals enormous amounts of money for things you can do yourself better and cheaper when you simply have the right information. If you want to stop wasting money on industry lies, subscribe and hit the bell. Because what we are covering in the next few months is going to save the average viewer thousands of dollars per year. Not hundreds, thousands. And it starts right now with a 60-second wiper blade swap they never taught you. But before I show you the method, I want to take you back to where this knowledge actually comes from. Because understanding the origin makes the solution make so much more sense. It is 1937, Detroit, Michigan. The American auto industry is exploding. Cars are becoming mainstream for the middle class for the first time. And in the rubber manufacturing plants that supply components to the major automakers, there is a group of process chemists who spend their days testing rubber compounds and understanding exactly what makes rubber degrade, what makes it crack, what makes it harden, what makes it streak across your windshield and leave those horrible arcing lines that reduce visibility in the rain. These chemists understood rubber degradation at a level that most people today still do not understand, and they discovered something fascinating. The primary enemy of wiper blade rubber is not age, it is not use, it is oxidation combined with the removal of the rubber's natural plasticizers. In plain English, that means the rubber dries out from the inside and loses its flexibility. And when rubber loses flexibility, it cannot make full contact with the glass surface, which is why old wipers skip and streak and leave those dangerous bands of water on your windshield when you need visibility the most. These chemists knew the solution was simple. Reintroduce a mild plasticizer to the rubber surface and to remove the oxidation layer simultaneously, and the blade performs like new. The compound they identified was simple, cheap, and available everywhere. And it worked, completely, every single time. Your grandmother already knew this. She used it every single day, not on her car necessarily, but on rubber seals and rubber boots and rubber gloves, and a dozen other household rubber items that needed to be kept supple and functional. The knowledge existed. It was common household wisdom in an era when people fixed things instead of replacing them. But somewhere between 1950 and 1980, as the auto service industry professionalized and corporatized, that wisdom got quietly buried under layers of brand marketing, authorized service center agreements, and the relentless message that your car is complicated and you should leave it to the professionals. Now, let me explain the science so you understand exactly why this works. Because once you understand it at the molecular level, you will never look at a rubber wiper blade the same way again. Wiper blade, rubber, is a vulcanized synthetic compound. Vulcanized means the rubber molecules have been cross-linked with sulfur bonds to give the rubber its strength and flexibility. Those cross-links are what make the rubber bend smoothly across your windshield without skipping. But over time, two things happen. First, ozone in the atmosphere attacks those sulfur cross-links and begins breaking them down. This is called ozone cracking, and it is why old rubber develops those tiny surface cracks. You can see if you look closely at a worn wiper blade. Second, the plasticizers that were added during manufacturing to keep the rubber soft and flexible slowly migrate out of the rubber compound and evaporate. As those plasticizers leave, the rubber becomes stiffer, less supple, and less able to conform perfectly to the curved surface of your windshield. Now here's what makes this fixable. The ozone damage creates a thin, hardened, oxidized layer on the very surface of the rubber, just a few microns thick. But that layer is what causes the streaking because it is hard and irregular and cannot make full contact with the glass. If you remove that oxidized surface layer and simultaneously reintroduce a compatible plasticizer to the rubber, the blade behaves exactly as it did when it was new. The rubber becomes supple again. It makes full contact again. The streaking stops, the skipping stops, and you have just extended the life of that blade by months without spending a single dollar on a replacement. The auto industry knows this. The wiper blade manufacturers know this. The quick lube chains absolutely know this. They have known it for decades. But here is the economic problem for them. The compounds that accomplish this are simple, unpatentable, and available for pennies. You cannot build a $100 billion service industry around telling people to use something that costs $1.50. You cannot charge $93 for something that takes 60 seconds and requires materials cheaper than a cup of coffee. So the knowledge gets suppressed, not through a dramatic conspiracy meeting where executives sit around a table and decide to hide the truth. It gets suppressed through omission, through marketing budgets, through training manuals that teach technicians to replace rather than restore, through service menus that list replacement as the only option, through a culture of automotive dependency that benefits everyone in the industry except you. Every year you do not know this, you are losing money. Real money. The average American replaces their wiper blades twice per year at a service center, at an average cost of $60 to $95 per visit. That is between $120 and $190 per year, just on wiper blades. Over 10 years, that is between $1,200 and $1,900. Gone. For something you could fix yourself in 60 seconds for under $2. That is not a minor inconvenience. That is a systematic financial drain that compounds quietly across your entire adult life. And it gets worse, because wiper blades are just the beginning. The same principle of deliberate complexity, manufactured dependency, and suppressed simple solutions applies to cabin air filters, engine air filters, battery terminals, fuel system maintenance, brake dust cleaning, and a dozen other routine maintenance items that quick lube chains charge you enormous premiums for. The wiper blade is the entry point. Once you understand how completely you have been overcharged for this one simple thing, you start to question everything else on that service menu. And you should, because the answers are the same every single time. Simple solutions, cheap ingredients, buried knowledge, massive markups, and an industry that depends entirely on you never figuring any of it out. Most drivers replace their wiper blades without realizing the problem is usually just dirt and oxidation on the rubber. All you need is 90% isopropyl alcohol, a microfiber cloth, and a tiny amount of Vaseline to restore them in minutes. Clean the rubber edge with alcohol until the black residue comes off, then apply a very thin layer of petroleum jelly to soften the rubber again. The result is smoother wipes, fewer streaks, and cleaner windshield contact without spending money on new blades or expensive service appointments.